Hi, my name is Christine, and I am reading the Constitution of the United States. And right now we are in the second section, which is the executive section, and we are in section 3. So it's Article 2, section 3. Oh, this was like article, sections, and then there's clauses. So like each paragraph thing is a clause, and the way they write this is confusing because sometimes these clauses have clauses within clauses. It's just confusing. Okay, so the first part of section 3 says, he shall from time to time give to the Congress information of the state of the Union and recommend to their consideration such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. He may, on extraordinary occasions, convene both houses or either of them, and in case of disagreements between them with respect to the time of adjournment, he may adjourn them to such time as he shall think proper. That's a lot right there. So what they're saying is that the president has to give to the Congress a State of the Union. Right now we do the State of the Union address live on TV, but it's been given in person, it's been given in writing. It's, some people put more, some people say, yeah, we know, and now it's like a lot of standing and ovations and stuff. Oh, look how great we are. We did all this. And everybody who agrees with the president stands up and cheers and claps and hoots and hollers. And then they bring in people. Oh, look, I made this happen and I made that happen. And these people are happy because I made this happen and I made that happen. And it's kind of, it's become a big show. But a lot of times it also gives you an idea of some of the things that you may not have heard about that had been, some laws that had been passed, or some things that had been done, so it's nice. It's nice because of that. Let me turn this page over and read what I have here. So there's 5 duties that are on here. One is to report to Congress for the State of the Union and the recommended legislation, because that's what else is usually put into the State of the Union. Hey, look what I did last year, and this is what we're working on now, and this is what we'd like to see in the future, and I heard you say you wanted this, and we're working to get that done. Convening or adjourning Congress in unusual circumstances. So again, if there's a war or something that needed to be done immediately, and maybe Congress isn't in town, he can convene, he can call people back, say we need to talk about this right now, and people can get back there, and that can happen. Receive foreign ambassadors. And the part about the ambassadors is this. You can have the ambassador, all right, we're going to pick Ireland just because that's the first country that came to my head. Ireland can say, oh, we want to come visit. And we could say, oh, no, we don't like you. We don't want you coming here. Or you could say, oh, yeah, come on along. And depending upon how you say it and what you say, tells a lot about how you feel about that country. And so it's really important that the president talks to other countries and brings other countries, even when you may not agree with their agenda, when you don't agree with a lot of things that they're doing in their own country. It's like having your long lost uncle come, the one that you really are glad you only see once a year. You love them, but you don't always want them hanging around. And that's how it is with some of these countries. You like some things about the country and not others, but you need to get along. You need to put your differences aside and get along and try and talk about things that both of your countries, usually it's trade of some kind, you know, and that's important for all countries, is trade. Okay. Ensure federal law is carried out faithfully. So this can cause issues, and I guess there's been a lot of things that have happened, and the president cannot refuse to perform these duties, but they do not have to do them aggressively. They can be like really slow or lackadaisical about it, even though they're supposedly supposed to be doing whatever law it is that they don't want to follow. And this is where the executive orders come in. So executive orders are not laws. And I know that we are increasingly using them because it is something that the president wants done, and he signs it into law and says, well, it's not law. Yeah, Trump likes to have all those stacks of things sitting on his desk and a Sharpie, and he signs them all. And the executive orders are not a law. They're just things he wants done. And presidents, the last 4 or 5 presidents, have been signing more and more of these orders, and it circumvents Congress. And so now they're talking about how it's probably really not a good thing that we're having so many of them. But how do you say, oh, each president only gets 5 or 20 or whatever? I mean, it would be arbitrary as to how many. But it is something that is being talked about, and people are shaking their heads about, because they're feeling like the president has too much power. And our forefathers wanted there to be all these checks and balances for a reason, because they didn't want one person to have all of the power. Whoops, there goes my light again. Now I gotta open the door. Oh, okay. So, the executive orders can instruct executive branch agencies on enforcement methods, regulatory priorities, administrative procedures within the boundaries Congress has already set. So that supposedly is what all the is supposed to do. So the next part of the duties is commissioning all federal officers. And the working role with responsibilities, not a figurehead. Okay, so now we're going to go to, did I read that wrong? He shall, okay, the next part says, he shall receive ambassadors or other public ministries. He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed, and shall that's whatever that word is. Commission all officers. Okay. And every federal judge, cabinet secretary, and military officer is a formal appointment of presidential signature on commission. So that's what they mean, that he shall commission officers. They're on commission. Now, here's the part that people have seemed pretty upset about, and that is that it's called, where did I write it? Spending and Impounding Act, which is no line item veto on which way money is spent that has already been allocated, from the Impoundment Clause of 1974. And you're like, oh, you're just saying a bunch of words. What I'm trying to say is this. When we have a president and the president ends being president, all of the laws that were written stay. Just because we get a new president doesn't mean that new law, the laws are different. Everything just keeps going on. And of course, when you get a new president, a new cabinet, people may not like some of the things that had been done previously. And like I mentioned before, if you're doing executive orders, they're fairly easy, or a whole lot easier to get rid of the executive orders, but laws are really difficult to change. It takes a lot of time and energy, and it's just really difficult. But the other thing that doesn't change is the fiscal responsibility of the United States. Laws are passed, budgets are agreed upon. We're going to spend this on this and this on this, and those monies are allocated. But President Trump has decided that he didn't like the way some of that money was allocated. And so he has violated the Spending and Impounding Act that the Government Accountability Office oversees. And things like the money that went to Ukraine and FEMA, and there was a whole lot more of them that had happened, and people were very, very upset over this. And he is allowed to have a rescission, which withholds for 45 days while Congress considers his proposal. He may say, hey, we gave too much money to Ukraine. How about if we pull back and we only spend this much? And then through those 45 days, then the government can consider what the old proposal was and what the new proposal does, and then they could say yay or nay on that. Or he can defer, which is a temporary delay for very narrow reasons, like maybe we were having a crisis, like when we had the COVID crisis and we needed to spend money on durable medical supplies for hospitals and stuff. We had to help out with all of that. So maybe we had to take that money from somewhere else. But there was a reason. But there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason why President Trump decided that he didn't want to fund some of the things that he has defunded. And I don't know where all that is going right now, and I don't know how anybody else feels about that. I feel it was really wrong to do what he did, because I don't think any president should be allowed to just do that willy-nilly and get away with it, because it was already voted by Congress, and we're supposed to have these checks and balances. We're not supposed to allow a president to come in, and that would mean that any future president would have those rights if this is gotten away with. Otherwise, we're going to have to make laws to make it more difficult for that to happen. And I see this as a Pandora's box. And it's not just who's right or who's wrong. And like I said in my previous video, I think that the founders of our nation wanted to make rules and make this Constitution looking at the whole and what we wanted in the end. And right now, I think there are too many people in government who are looking at what can we get for us right now. And I don't think that gets us very far. And I think that is part of the reason why things are so crazy right now, because people are backing into their corners, and that's never good. You know, this whole experiment was based on everybody as we, the people, we, not me, not you, we, all of us together, and all of us together have to try and figure this out. And I really like to see the powers that be start talking to one another again, and try and work all of this out. So, section 4, I'm going to put this in real quick because it's very short. The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. So those are the 3 big reasons. And of course, treason, it was a lot of treason going on back in the day. Not so much now, but in a different way. Maybe people would call it treason. Bribery is always going on. And yeah, there's a lot of that going on right now. And high crimes and misdemeanors, nobody really said what that is. And so this little, it's a very short paragraph, and on the surface it seems like it's pretty easy to figure out, but it was never really spelt out. And so there are some issues with this treason. What is treason? What is bribery? And what are high crimes and misdemeanors? And so we're kind of stuck on this. And I think this is another thing that could very easily, well, I don't know easily, but should be looked into and talked about more, and put a bit more thought into what this really means, because there's been trouble with the courts, the Supreme Court, as well as every part of our little triangle. Every part of it, there's been trouble in the executive branch, in the Congress, and in the judicial branch concerning some of these things. And I think we need a little more. Things need to be buttoned down a little better on what all of that really means, instead of right now, when we disagree, it goes to the Supreme Court, and sometimes the problem is the Supreme Court. And so, well, that's it for our Article 2. Now we've discussed what our legislative branch does, and how we got here. And starting tomorrow, we will start with Article 3, which is the judicial branch. So thank you for listening. Hope you like what I'm doing. I know that I'm not always clear in what I'm saying. I'm trying really hard to be. And thank you for watching. And I'll see you. Bye.